Hi, and welcome back to the His Glassworks Cold Shop. You may notice we're not actually in the cold shop today. We're actually in the dock area of our warehouse. The reason being, today we're going to talk about Husqvarna's new TS70 10-inch wet tile saw. Now, the reason we're in the dock area and the reason why this is a much larger box is previous versions of Husqvarna's saws would often come in a much smaller box that could sometimes ship via UPS or FedEx small package delivery. You'd open it up, you'd have to build the saw from scratch. It was all in different parts and you'd have to assemble it. That is no longer the case. Husqvarna is going to send you a saw that is already built and ready to go. You don't have to do anything to it except unpack it. The drawback to that is it's going to ship LTL freight now. It's not going to come small package. So it will come by a freight delivery. So you'll need to have a time when you're there for the delivery. If you don't have somebody else that's going to help you to get this off the truck, you'll probably need to order a lift gate with the truck. The nice thing is, for the most part, you're going to spend about $160 to $170 for the freight. It's not a huge amount no matter where you are in the US for delivery of this Husqvarna saw. You can find out the exact freight online if you put it in your shopping cart, but it's not terrible. You just need to be aware that it is going to come by freight truck and no longer by small package delivery. So of course, the first thing you're going to have to do is unbox this saw. So you'll definitely want a hammer or a pry bar or chisel, something to get the wooden parts off. They are really stapled on well. It took a few minutes to get those taken off. So a claw hammer, a pry bar, anything to get those staples out, and those wooden parts will lift right off. Once that's done, the cardboard side will also lift right off of your saw. And you'll see your completed unit there on the pallet. So as you can tell, it comes as one complete unit, no assembly required, which is really quite nice. Makes life a lot easier for you, as long as you can get it unpacked. So we can see here, once we get our plastic off, is our nice complete built TS70 wet tile saw. So you'll also notice that these smaller wet tile saws, unlike the larger MS360s from Husqvarna, they're going to require a stand of some sort. Now you can build your own tabletop to put this on. They do also have a fixed leg stand, but we're going to also show you today the rolling cart stand, which is a really nice addition for your TS70, especially if you're taking and moving your saw outside for a lot of your work and then moving it back inside for storage. The rolling cart is a really fantastic addition. So let's take a look real quick at the nice and easy way to move this saw. Now, if you've got a couple of people, and you will need a couple of people, the nice thing about the TS70 saw is you've actually got these nice little built-in handles on the front and on the rear of the saw that you can pull out. So this makes this incredibly simple for two people to lift this saw and move it without too much difficulty. So we're going to do that real quick. We're going to lift this saw off of this pallet and get the pallet out of the way so you can see what it looks like without the pallet and the wrapping. So once you have your saw on your stand, it needs to fit on top of these rails right here. So you need to have the front and the back sitting on the rail. So these bolts, when they go in, will fit underneath these rails and lock your saw onto your stand. So we'll put these bolts in now and get this locked in place. So now that our saw is bolted to our stand, we can put our handles back in. We don't need our carry handles anymore. And we're ready to lift this up so we can move it. So with our saw mounted to our stand, we can now move this anywhere we really need to go. Simply lifting with the front handles, and the weight of the saw is at the blade head, and that's right above your wheels. So this makes it very easy to move this in and out from your shop if you need to move it outside to cut with, and then move it back inside. So it's make it very versatile. So let's see how the stand works. So on the right side of our saw stand, you'll see a little lever here. This is what locks your stand in place so you can pick it up. Now if you hold down a little bit and push this lever down, it will unhook the stand and allow you to raise the saw up. So if you did need to lower it or up and go up a little further, up is no problem. Put your foot on the stand and pull up to its height that you need it to. If you need it to go lower, you press down on this middle section and you can lower your saw stand. That's how you lower it all the way back to the ground for transport. Make sure when you lift it up, it's locked in place. So you can see with our Husqvarna slide tray here, you come with a cutting guide on here, a backstop. If we slide our tray out of the way, you can get an idea of what the water system looks like. It does come with a submersible pump system that's integrated into the saw, so when you turn the saw on, the water starts. And you'll notice this very interesting water tray system that we have here. As the water goes underneath from the slide tray, it goes down this portion, in through here, and back into your water reclamation here. It keeps a lot of debris out from your actual water tray, so it really helps to keep your submersible pump from getting too clogged too quickly when you're cutting, and it really makes this easy to take out and clean out when you need to. So we'll slide our slide tray back here, lock it back in place. So with your slide tray, when you move your saw, you do want to make sure to put it back in place and relock your slide tray so this does not move when you're moving your saw. Otherwise, when you lift it up, your slide tray is going to go flying to the back. So you want to make sure to engage the lock on your slide tray before you move your saw. This is your blade head cover. You have one single point here that you unscrew in order to open up your blade guard to change your blades. It tilts open like this. Now you will see it will come pre-installed with a Vari-Cut tile blade. This blade is meant for ceramic tile. It is not going to work well on your glass. You can try it if you're just looking for some rough cuts on your glass, but for the most part, it's going to eat up your glass. You want to go ahead and change this with something better like a Result blade or a Superlock Glass Plus blade if you're doing thinner material, but do not really use this blade unless you're really looking to hog material off of your glass. But very simple way to change your blades here with this hinge design. Your water system valve is on the opposite side where you can adjust the amount of water that's coming through, and you can see your water here that goes on either side of your blade as you're working. So it's a really compact, very simple system to work with here. Close it back up and screw it tight, and you're ready to go. Now also on this side of the saw, this is your blade head adjustment here. So this is going to lock into place where your blade head is. For the most part, you'll want to make sure your blade is down into your slide tray cutting area. So you'll want to loosen this knob and then use this handle to adjust your blade head to the size that you need for your slide tray, usually just a little below your guide. You tighten this part up, and now your head stays in place. So you can adjust the height of your blade if you need to, depending on the type of work that you're doing to move through here. You can raise it up or lower it down, depending on the cuts that you need. To go all the way through your glass, you want it a little below the channel on your slide tray. You'll also notice on your slide tray, you have different channels in your slide tray. One for 90 degrees, one for 30 degrees, and one for 45 degrees. That's because this entire blade head on the Husqvarna saw can tilt to give you angled cuts. And the tilt adjustment is on the back side of the saw mount. This little attachment here, you can unscrew this to reset and tilt your entire blade head along this axis to different degrees to match up with your slide tray. So if you wanted to take your slide tray out and do a random degree in here, you can, or you can set it at the 30 or the 45 degree to match up the slide tray if you need to do an angled cut. All the way down and locked in place is your 90 degree. You'll also notice back here all the tools you need for your saw. This wrench is going to come in handy for replacing your blades on there. If you need to tighten up other parts that are around, they're all hex screws and are used with these here. Nice little way to keep all your tools for your saw in one place so you don't lose track of them. They're always with your saw. So this is the Husqvarna 10-inch TS70 wet tile saw. Great saw for working with your glass. You can get an idea with me standing beside it, the size of this saw and if it will fit in your studio and what it can do. Now the one thing that I need to point out about this saw is it's going to struggle with anything larger. Obviously from the depth of cut on your blade itself, but also the blade head assembly, which is a little bit closer into the slide tray area. So depending on what you're cutting, just be aware that the tightness around here is going to be an issue for some things. But for the most part, you're not cutting super thick material with a 10-inch blade because you've only got about a 2 3/4 inch depth of cut to maybe 3-inch depth of cut on that. So you're generally going to hit some smaller things which will easily pass under there. Altogether, it's a great compact saw that really holds together well and has a tremendous amount of fantastic features with it. So that's your little walkthrough of the TS70 wet tile saw. Hope you can grab one for your own studio.